This is Kryptonite Dragon. Thank you for joining us for the PodStation from Trophies on PSN. Today we're going to do kind of a special again. So we're going to kind of skip the normal pleasantries and site news, and we're going to do something a little bit along the lines of a special. We're going to talk about how to be a better gamer, be a better member. Basically thought of the idea of just kind of relaying some tips. Tips on using the site, using guides, using videos, shopping, social media, things like that just can improve your gaming experience with both the site and with just gaming in general. And so, don't take it as we're experts or anything, but maybe you can take a little bit out of what we say today and make things better for yourself, make things better for others, and even help improve the site. Let's start off with guides. Let's talk about one of the most important things about trophy hunting, quote unquote, and what guides mean to them.
Yeah, I mean, for me, guides are, integral to everything I do. I mean, most people know I'm a trophy hunter, and, if you think back to the days when trophies first came out, there wasn't a lot of guides, and so it didn't quite catch on straight away with a lot of gamers, and now that we have guides, I mean, it's great. You can find all the little hidden extras, improve your trophies, and so on. So, yeah, guides are more important now than they probably ever have been.
Yes. And, I want to say a little bit kind of in depth about guide writers, because first off, think about it from the standpoint that, these people are trying to help you achieve all the trophies in the game. So as a person that's hunting trophies, I would suggest first and foremost that you read guides thoroughly. Learn to become a better gamer from taking other people's approach to beating trophies, because one thing about guides is they're a unique person's opinion on the order. Usually when you have a roadmap, for example, it's going to give the order of how you should approach it. And I like to think reading that first is very, very important. If you're a trophy hunter and you just go in there and just dig right into a guide and read about a specific trophy, you're probably not doing yourself justice as a gamer, because there's a lot to learn, right?
Absolutely. I mean, gone are the days now where you'd bang your head against a brick wall trying to beat something, do you know what I mean, and get rage and throw the controller around.
You had people that would be like, this is how you beat that trophy, and that's all fine and great, but like, how many of us have, dug in and you end up with an extra playthrough because you missed something, you don't know about a missable trophy, or you do an extra playthrough and, like I used to do it on, all the time, I would go in and play on the hardest setting.
Yeah.
And then you read these guides and it's like, you don't want to start that way because you want to play on easy, and then it'll unlock a different difficulty level that you might not be aware of. Or it might be that's the perfect time to learn about the structure of the game and do all the collectibles, for example. And then you can concentrate on beating it on hard. And me, I always wanted to try and do all of it. Fit it all into one playthrough, and then you realize a lot of times it's like, this is really good advice. And if I had listened, I wouldn't be playing this extra 25-hour playthrough.
Yeah, God knows the amount of times it's cropped up where I've had to play something through multiple times. I'm quite open about it though. I'm just like, yeah, it's my own stupid fault. I probably really should have just read up on it first. But I guess it's each their own. But as I say, guides are so important, regardless of whether you do sort of jump in head first and then look back on it, or you want to do that one playthrough things. There's nothing more important than getting a heads up of things to come.
Right.
And especially with our new system.
Yeah, in this instance, I mean, we're also talking about realizing that a trophy guide is so more than just a description of how to defeat each trophy. It's that roadmap is just, it's an overview that's so very important. You have to realize that if you're a gamer, you have to realize the importance of a roadmap, because this is your guide on someone that's already played it, and hopefully they've found the best way. Maybe they've made the mistake of making too many playthroughs, that stuff, and it can tell you all that. So,
but I do like that, while we're talking about guides and stuff, we should just point out that we did recently revamp our own guide system. And although we're talking about guides in general, wherever you may go for them, the new guide system that we have is perfect for anybody wanting to use a guide where you're able to hide the ones that you've completed and so on. So, do check that out as well, because, as you say, there is most guides are written, they're usually done in the preferred personal order. But now you can kind of tick things off that you've done as well. So not only can you have the usefulness of the roadmap and the advice at the beginning of the guide, but you can now knock them off as you do them.
Yep, that's really important to know the tools on the site with use of guides. Not only that, we're implementing systems all the time. We're going to have where you can kind of rant about the game. That's an opportunity to tell some people, hey, I encountered this problem, and it might be something that maybe the guide writer didn't encounter. and you might be helping someone else. So in that sense, sharing information that you know, or even asking questions, is going to benefit everybody, because then that's going to get more information out there. And that's what really we're talking about here, is information, sharing information. Yeah. The more that happens and the more that occurs, the more you get involved, the better it is for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's also worth pointing out that if you use guides regularly, like myself, like you do as well, KD, that, you know, don't ever be afraid to get stuck in with them as well. We actually have some tools which KD will run you through in a second that actually make it a lot easier for you to, you know, because not everybody's guide's perfect. And sometimes you might want to expand upon it. So it's not just necessarily about reading the guide, it's also being able to put your stamp on things, or, you know, your one across. So we have actually brought out a load of tools on the site as well that allows you to do that. And I'd certainly encourage people, you know, if you think something can be improved on, you know, do go and do that. Use these tools. Because, you know, you may produce a fantastic guide as a result of it, and obviously the impact on that is then you're the go-to person to get the advice for, and that's quite a fulfilling experience for most guide writers.
Oh, yeah. And they like to hear feedback. They like to hear, hey, I used this, it helped me tremendously. Or the other thing, which is just being a part of the process, you know, saying, hey, I found a better way. I can't tell you how many guides I've rewritten, you know, I've rewritten parts of it where somebody comes to me and goes, oh, no, here's a glitch, or this has got a bug on it. Let everyone know that if you do it this way, you'll cost yourself a bunch of work. And I mean, things like that are so very, very important, because, you know, a person making a guide, I mean, you can't play through a game hundreds of times just to test for all the what ifs. You know, things are going to fall out sometimes outside of their experience, and you have to be that person that steps up and you know, kind of plugs the holes here and there, you know?
Yeah,
it's part of the process.
Just walk us through the new get guide code thing. I know we've talked about it before, but obviously we're trying to put everything in one package here. So just run us briefly through the get guide code and what that means for, you know, potential guide writers and why they should do it.
Yeah, so you find a game that doesn't have a guide, or even if it does have a guide, you're going to do a challenge guide, for example. You go down to the bottom, there's the site foot map, It has get guide code, and you click on that, and it basically pulls up all the games in our database. You click on the specific game and then just copy and paste the code that shows in that window, and it should be a layout for the format of the roadmap, and then all of the different trophies with their image, their trophy weight, their description and name. And then all you have to do is just go in and fill in those blanks. You have to put in kind of the steps in the roadmap, put in, you know, the other important tools, which are what you estimate the difficulty to be, how many trophies are online or offline, those kind of things. Those are very important too, and to get them as accurate as you can. You know, share with people in the description if something stands out to you. And that's the importance of a guide writer, is making sure that they kind of tick all those boxes and they take it seriously and don't mess up someone else's game because they're kind of, you know, don't make it too easy on yourself. You know, be thorough, be responsible for, you know, finding the best way.
And we should also
asking what people think is the best way. Maybe you have two solutions and you say, what you guys think I should put in my guide?
Sorry, I didn't mean to jump in and interrupt you. I was just going to say, it's worth bearing in mind that even if you're not necessarily, you know, ready to do the guide, you know, don't ever be afraid to hit up guide writers, because, you know, I was talking about this with Warbear the other day, you know, looking at a game in particular, Ni no Kuni has so many different collectibles and quests and things like that. Now, if you're doing it as guide writer, that is a huge challenge to take on. For the most part, most of the guides that I've certainly seen for that title are not particularly great, because it's one person trying to do everything. So what I would say is, if you're not quite ready for the guide thing, one thing you can do to sort of slip in to the mind frame of a guide writer is you can help other guide writers. So, you know, if someone's doing something with lengthy collectibles, or, you know, a video, for example, do message people, you know, that are working on these things and say to them, well, do you want me to go and do a collectibles guide for you? And, you know, do that as well, because that can always be then tacked into the guide as well.
Yep. Finding partners, you know, I always encourage people to start small, because when I started guide writing, you know, I didn't want to take on one of 50 trophies, you know, myself and try to do that. You know, find someone else to partner with. Take a smaller game. learn or offer to do part of it and not take credit. Basically, hey, let me write a couple of the trophies up stuff for you and see if this is good. Am I on the right track for writing my own guide?
Yeah.
And the other thing that's out there is, and we'll talk about this in a minute, is YouTube, using YouTube. Making and using videos. There are tons of people out there, I'll say this now, I'll probably say it again later, but that make videos where all collectibles and stuff are. You don't have to write down in a written description where every single thing is. Make use of some of these other tools. Videos, in case of collectibles, are often a much better way to display that. And if someone's already made a video, find a really good video, ask them if you can use it, put it in your guide, write a nice clear description. Maybe even make a timeline of the video, like, collectible number 4 is shown at, 15 minutes and 30 seconds, whatever. But it's not as difficult as people think to write a guide. It's just as much as, how much you want to challenge yourself with it. So I encourage everyone to be a part of that process. If you're using trophy guides, respect that there's people working hard writing them, and offer assistance in any way that you can, even if it's just feedback.
Absolutely.
So I think this, to go back to the main point, improves your gaming, because I can say that writing guides and being a part of guides improves the process of being a trophy hunter, because you start looking at other ways to achieve those trophies that people didn't think about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, amen to that. I've even thought about starting some up, so...
Yeah. So... don't think that the process is kind of locked in stone either. If you've got some ideas for improving guides on the site, in terms of like what we offer, like this Get Guide Code is kind of a newer thing, and there's the possibility of other kinds of guides in there, and maybe even getting the guide code stuff to represent those. Boosting guides are the perfect example. Sometimes you have multiplayer trophies and you need to organize with other people to boost it, and that's not necessarily with a trophy guide or a roadmap, and it's its own little process, and maybe you want to write those. Maybe you want to write some descriptives on how to boost with people. And
I would just chime in with that as well. It's worth noting that, if you're struggling to find boosting partners, by all means hit up the events team, because sometimes, I think it's fair to say that sometimes boosting things can get hidden. Or can be a lengthy process to try and track down people to do it. And, the events team are always looking for suggestions in terms of games they can do for the big community play, but they're not opposed to doing, boosting session nights as well. So, do PM the events team with regards to that, and they can sort something out as well. So, if you're not necessarily having much luck, don't, for the love of God, give up on it. Drop them a PM, and you may find there are a lot more people on the site that might be attracted to that as well.
Yeah. And here's, we're getting into kind of the next box to tick on.
Sorry.
But, no, it's, improving with your favorite site. We're assuming here that you're using us as a site, but I just got to say, adding suggestions is never a bad thing. You got to be open to changing, growing. Gaming's going to change. The PS4 is going to come out. Join into these things. Be a part of it. Join gaming events, site competitions, forum games. Respect the people that are making the banners for the guide team or the guide makers. These are all people that are helping, and give them feedback. Give them a thank you once in a while. And we have process also on the site for listing what games you're boosting, what games you're currently playing. Those are available when you do a search of members. You can actually search people that are playing the same kind of games. And now this is provided that they've filled that information in and that they update it. But if you see someone playing the same kind of game, hit them up with a message. Those are the people that will be boosting it and playing the same games as you and are interested in playing those same games. Very easy way to find them. And then, we talked about this, directing, news stories towards what you're interested in by giving feedback. Reviews. We're getting to the point we're going to have where you can actually recommend things, where you're going to be scoring, offering information on what you think the difficulty is, those kind of things. And you should take that up and say, reviews are so important, because what we're really talking about here is, do I want to play this game? Do I even want to buy this game? How is it for trophy hunters? Getting feedback. Is a server closed? Can it no longer be a platinum be earned in it? Is there a glitch? What do people think about the story? Is it a 0? Is it not worth playing? Or is it, a 1 hour game for, the full price, and it's not worth it? these kind of things stand out, and as trophy hunters, we need to kind of bring that information out and share it with each other. And reviews and comments and feedback, that's the place to do it. And it's going to improve your experience as a gamer. It's going to improve the site. It's going to improve the way we do things. And I just ask everyone to help one another with figuring that out. Information is very important here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much to add to that. I think you nailed it straight on the head there.
Cool. Don't forget about finding help and finding boosters, offering help, posting in the boosting threads if you're working on something. And even if it's something you're not working on actively, you might find that someone might have other boosting sessions that they're doing with other people, and they might need just one last person. And it might kind of change the way, maybe the time that you're boosting that, or make it so that boosting session's a little bit more fun because it's people that you know from the site. You could find people that are playing the same kind of games as you. Who knows, you might make some people, make some new friends, some online friends. I've certainly boosted a lot of games with people that I've gotten to know really well, and they're on my friends list, and we play a lot of other games together. That's a pretty cool way to meet people.
Yeah, especially with the friends list increasing with PS4 to like 2,000 friends. I mean, the amount of people I've met over the years through numerous boosting things, and become really good friends with them, and that's only going to get bigger as we go forward. So, do actively do that, make an effort. I often hear sometimes, people saying, it always makes me laugh sometimes because people are like, I need PSN friends, And I'm thinking, just find a common ground with them. If trophies are great for doing that, especially if you're trying to earn online trophies, find that common ground and make some friends with that. Because you'll be surprised at how long you may end up knowing that person for. I mean, I've known people on my friends list now that were with me when I first got my PS3 back on launch day, and I'm still friends with them to this day.
Yep, before trophies even existed, right? You
exactly.
For fun, and
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I mean, this all relates to the next topic too. It's like what kind of gamer you are, and setting goals for what you want to achieve as a gamer. Because for some people, it is about that. It's about the friends and the friends list, or maybe it's about playing in a clan, or maybe you're 100. Maybe you're one of these people. If you ever pop a trophy in a game, you're going 100% or bust.
Yeah.
I'll delete my freaking account if I. But I mean, you got to think about it like that. You need to establish yourself as what do you hope to get out of the site, because it's all fine and great to get trophies, but let's face it, if you're not sharing with people, you're not showing that off with a card, you're not experiencing games with other people that you enjoy playing with. What's the point? You know what I mean? Yeah. Don't sit at home being like this little closet gamer. You got 1 million plats, and it's like, ooh, I don't want to talk to anyone. I don't want to boost with anyone. I don't want to do a game night. Yeah. I don't care about looking at a guide. I'm just going to do it.
Yeah. It's not a fun experience. I know. I've been
exactly. We're talking about games here. That's the definition. It's games, fun. Challenge. So, I would say for, the best piece of advice is, decide what kind of gamer you are.
Yeah.
Set some clear goals. Something else we put on a tool as a site is your goals. Some people it's beating a certain game. Some people it's a certain number of trophies by a certain date. Some people it's like maintaining 100%. Some people it's like beating so-and-so at this game or something like that. All that stuff. It all adds to the competition, the fun element of it. Yeah. But I would encourage everyone to give that some thought.
Yeah, because I think if you define yourself, I mean, in everyday life we define ourselves as goth, townies, etc., and it's kind of like, for some people, necessarily having a tag isn't a good thing. But then on the plus side, it's kind of like, well, if you define, what type of gamer you are, then you kind of know who you're going to be able to find common ground with, and you'll be surprised at how many people may also, as you say, share that common interest with it, and it gives you more avenues to explore with getting into it. I mean, we on the news team have a lot of different, characters that are is essentially different types of gamers. For myself, I'm a trophy hunter. I have a keen interest in all the industry, but then there's other people like Garcia Fever, for example, who loves these JRPGs, and I guarantee you, if you had a discussion with him about JRPGs, that's going to be an awfully long discussion. Yeah. But my point is that you're able to find that common ground if you like that particular genre, or and you're not necessarily interested in things. So it definitely helps to have that definition of the gamer you are and the interests that you have, even if they're genre based.
Yep, and I think we'll jump ahead here and start talking about the next element that fits with this, which is social media. And this is your realm. It's always been your realm. And this fits hand in glove with where gaming's going, what we're talking about here. Because regardless of what kind of gamer you are, you're going to want to rely on other people. If you're just playing for fun, you're going to want to find people to play for fun. If you're wanting to be in a clan and be serious about what your clan activities are, you're going to want to find them. If you're 100%er, you're going to want guides and you're going to want feedback on games before you make a decision on getting it and all this stuff. Social media is another outlet for getting connected with that kind of information. And
Absolutely.
The news team, and there's a lot of benefits of being social, because what we're talking about here is a website with a forum and gamers, and the whole point of the site is that social interaction. So if you're on the site and you're posting in forums and you're having that interaction, that's the point of the site. And social media is along the same lines. That's the point of social media, to be social. So it's greater connectivity, and you can't deny that in the next generation consoles, that's going to be a little bit more built in.
Yeah, it's huge impact. I mean, we saw that at Sony's press conference when they showed off the PlayStation 4 interface, and the first thing they did was they sent a tweet out saying, "Let the show begin," and straight away, it's gone from being just a closed group of journalists to having everybody on Twitter involved and really wanting to check it out. So, the social media has so many implications for people, and there's some great things you can do with it as well. I mean, it's not necessarily just about finding people as well. You can, as you say, you can keep up to date with all the latest news and stuff, and it's so accessible. It's available on your mobile phone, your PS Vita, your 3DS, your Nintendo, your Xbox, your PS3 or whatever. But nevertheless, one thing that's common throughout all these devices is the things like Facebook and Twitter. These are all accessible on here, and what the beauty of what these are as well is they're really quick social interactions. It's not like you have to go through any long-winded processes and stuff, so you can respond to somebody quite quickly, put your phone back in your pocket, and it's done. Mm-hmm. And it's that kind of nice ongoing thing that makes social media brilliant for that. And it also means that, if you're proud of something, you can share that with people. One of my gripes with the original trophy system is that eventually they did patch it in, but it was like you get a trophy and it's like, what can you do with that virtual trophy? It adds to your score on an obscure leaderboard on a site somewhere, and that's probably about it. Now, it's not just about getting on the leaderboards or, but you can get serious recognition for these kinds of things. If you earn a platinum trophy, you'll be surprised at how many people jump on Twitter and go, if you tweet that out and say, "Oh, I've got a platinum trophy on this game," and everybody will be like, "Yeah, that's awesome," and then retweet it and they'll share with their friends, and that actually encourages more people to go, "Well, hey, he's obviously had fun he's proud of his platinum, maybe I should go for that platinum," and I can then tweet him and find out advice from him on how to get it. And it just has this butterfly effect. Mm-hmm. And that's a great thing to have for you as a gamer, and it helps get you, coming back to this whole defining you as a gamer. It's a great way to actually, share with people how you define yourself as a gamer, because you are a gamer, but you're also a human being as well.
Yep.
And, so being able to do both, define yourself as a gamer, but also show you that you're a human being, social media is a perfect tool for that. We obviously do have a guide coming up for the best ways to use it, but I'll give people a brief overview. The best way is to, there are things you can do certainly to help the site out. For example, you can tweet our news articles out, follow us, promote competitions and stuff, but is mix it up. Don't be one of these people that tweets non-stop, because nobody wants to wants their feed spammed. I think that's fair to say. But, spread it out over the course of the day. Don't be afraid to tweet things that you're interested in, but spread it out. Hashtag it, because if you hashtag a tweet, so for example, I've just eaten a burger, or, you may not necessarily get people interested, but if you put, I've just eaten a hashtag burger, everybody else that's been tweeting out will be able to see that and think, yeah, hashtag burger, that person's might have just been to where I've been, I'm going to tweet them. Do you see what I mean? And so there's that, connectivity there, which is what, as I say, makes it so great. But, looking from my own personal perspective, there are other things that you can do. If you follow the right people, or you keep your eyes out on things like Twitter and Facebook, you can actually benefit from it, from winning things like competitions. Spratters on the site recently gave away a free copy of The Last of Us to generate some interest in his Twitter feed, and it's had exponential, benefits to do that. I've won myself £35 PSN voucher and numerous other games just by retweeting or replying to someone's tweet. So, if you're wanting to be able to benefit from it in that way as well, you can do. So I guess what I'm saying is that social media should not just necessarily be a personal thing, even though you should use it personally, but don't fob it off as just being a marketing stunt, because you can benefit from the marketing, PR, the connectivity with friends and so on. So just, use it.
Yeah. And I would even say, recognize social media is actually becoming almost a term for a lot of things. Like if you think about it, like PSN messaging, that almost it falls into social media because you're able to connect with people. Or streaming of videos, like we're moving into a point where you're going to be able to look over someone's shoulder and see what they're doing, and it's just another form of communicating, connecting with people. And just the more that's plugged in with social media, the more you're seeing options that are available for finding other people doing the same things that you're doing. Yeah. And it's all going to snowball into just many more things and many more possibilities. So, use those things too and recognize that they're coming with the PS4. How awesome is it going to be? Like before, you needed all this equipment to make a video and all this. It's going to get to the point where you're just going to you're going to play the game and then you can just kind of dice up your video right there and send it up and say here's a guide, basically a video guide of everything I did playing through. You want to come watch? Here's how I got it. Here's how I got that trophy, or here's how I beat that game. Easily have discussions about that kind of stuff.
I mean, myself personally, I've had quite, I make no bones to it, but, people know I'm a fan of Q Games, have been since day one of the PlayStation, with the Pixel Junk series coming and the stuff that Q Games has done in the past, and I've had some great banter with them over Twitter, quite recently, and, it's kind of nice to be able to do that with a games developer as well. So
yeah, and how often before that would you have a chance to ask someone from Sony a question? You didn't before Twitter came.
Probably never, yeah. Even
run into them in a games conference with the thousands of other people there asking questions. Instead, social media puts you in some kind of contact. And no, they might not answer your question or every question, but
at least you have the outlet to do it.
Yeah, you're having some form of connection with them and their thoughts on stuff. And as they respond to other people, they could be answering your questions. And there's a whole bunch of stuff just happening there, and that's pretty powerful. Yeah, it's like putting the little guy in touch with bigwigs and giving them an opportunity to actually directly voice their opinion, give them feedback, because that's what they're looking for. Same as us. Tell us what you think.
Yep, tweet us, Facebook us,
And then, YouTube. I can't say how much I believe in YouTube. It's vast. I would encourage everyone to take that as, there's so many things you can find on YouTube. Everything from, crazy off-topic stuff. I've found things on how to fix items, for example.
Yeah, PS3 Blu-ray drive for me, buddy.
Exactly.
I'd never have a clue how to take one of those apart. Now
I used to work on PlayStations, and that's how I learned to do it. Is actually from watching YouTube videos. True story. And I used to fix them and resell them, and get working. And the key here is that it's like with guides. You can go on YouTube, and a lot of times you'll be looking for a specific trophy, and you'll find a video guide on YouTube, and that'll help you with that trophy. But consider this. Most of those people are not guide writers. So why not invite them to be a part of the site, to be a part of guides, or ask them if you can use their video in the guide? These are people that are making those things, and they want people to approach them and say, hey, I've used it. That's why they made the video to begin with and put it on YouTube. And they want it to be as big a part of guides as possible.
And don't be afraid to tap them up for advice as well.
Hit them up and say, hey, I want this site.
Yourself,
We saw your guide. We want to use your video guide in our trophy guide. Or do you want to write a trophy guide with me? You make the videos, and I'll do some of the writing here with this, and then we can work on the roadmap together. And because all you're going to do is improve the site. You're gonna draw more gamers together that kind of are already doing the things that are needed for guides. And nobody says you have to have recording equipment and experience writing. Like
I
I
know,
said, start small. Invite people, ask questions.
I was going to say, we do this podcast, if we're being honest, we do this podcast on a limited budget as it is, So, yeah, there are a hell of a lot of tips, tricks, and workarounds that are out there. You just need to kind of ask sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And don't be afraid to ask. But I will also say as well, don't just necessarily keep it to guides. I mean, there's, as you say, YouTube is ever expanding and it's going to certainly become important, certainly for gamers going forward. And, there's stuff that I've seen on YouTube, and you probably know this with, where people have taken clips from game footage and turned them into, like, comedy stuff, like World of Warcraft, for example. There's a whole, like, I wouldn't even want to estimate how many videos out there. They're just World of Warcraft videos, and if that's your cup of tea, if that's the thing you think, yeah, it's funny, and I have this amazing idea in my head, and I'd love to be able to do that, but it's a huge technical challenge, don't be afraid to just go and ask the people that do these, and even just posting works on progress within a site like ours, for example. You can get feedback on it from people, as you say, and you could potentially be looking at $1 million idea somewhere along the line.
Yep. Who knows? You might be good at making comedy videos for Minecraft or something. You never know.
Yeah, especially since Minecraft's coming to the PS3, PS4, and PS Vita. Sorry, I thought I'd just drop in a news story there. Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess the story here is, make use of all these things, improve yourself as a gamer, help us improve our site, help other people, which is going to in turn find you more people to work with and help you solve your gaming challenges, improve your skill, and just all around, just kind of pull everyone together towards more experience and more knowledge. So let's talk about some of the other things. Shopping. It's something that's you hear a wide variety of opinions and stuff on it, and like, what do I do? Where do I find the best price? Again, this comes down to the kind of person, kind of gamer you are, because I think there's a couple of different areas in this. Sometimes people are collectors and they're not going to let anything go, and some people are kind of like renters, and then other people are like sell everything off when you're done with it. Yeah. What's your take on that?
Well, you know me, I've said numerous times that I'm a collector here, and that for me is the one thing that is a bit of a nightmare, because you can't really do anything about the price with collector's editions. Mm-hmm. That's a nightmare. But the way that I sort of manage that is I try and accumulate over time. I think time's the most important thing when it comes to the shopping thing. It's like, are you willing to give developers money on day one? There's maybe some games that make a compelling case for that, mm-hmm. but then other times, a game may look fantastic, but just wait, because you'll be surprised at how many games, especially here in the UK, come down in price within like 2 months.
Yeah. And
2 months is still enough time for that game to remain fresh in your mind. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'd hate to see what the price of, say, something like Saints Row 4 Commander-in-Chief Edition is going to be like in 3 months' time. I'm telling you now, you're probably going to be looking at around about half the price, if not more.
Yeah. And how much does that change the value for the person playing it? Because, like, if you get a game at half the price and, you enjoy it as much, but you just had to wait a little while, maybe you pick something else in the meantime that was more bargain-friendly. I mean, think about how much more you can enjoy a game. I can't tell you how much I loved playing Rage. Yeah. I waited for, a year after it came out.
Yeah.
Well, probably not that long, but, quite a long while after it came out, and got it for, $10. And, it's like... what could be better than that? You get to enjoy the game, and I don't know.
I think for me, it's about finding the balance, really. Mm-hmm. It truly is, and this will be different. As much as I can give people advice on it, it really is going to be up to the individual, because, there is no point in getting stressed, blacklisting developers and publishers that you don't want to buy products from, because you may have bought something full price, and then, 2 days later, there might be a reduction on it. It often happens with the PlayStation Store. for example, on digital content, where something's giving away, something goes on sale, and then it's given away free on PlayStation Plus the following month, and you think, why did I buy it? Those situations you can't avoid. So it seems pointless getting stressed about them.
Let me break in, because there's an important point there too. There's a distinction, which is if you go and buy a disc. The other thing is you can go and buy a disc, and you've got that to play in one PlayStation. But let me tell you about personal experience with it, having multiple PlayStations and kids that play. The digital copy is even more of a value in some of those cases. You get the digital copy for $10, but then I can put it on 2 PlayStations, and my kids can play at the same time as me. We can play multiplayer together. So there's actually a little bit of an added benefit there in terms of the digital copy versus the disc copy. Whereas someone else that buys that disc copy also, and they might be thinking, well, resale value, I can get it for maybe I get it for $30, half price, and then a week later I sell it for $25. I get almost all of my money back. So there's a lot at play here in terms of value and the way you go about buying, reselling, renting games.
Yeah. So I think the key thing, as I say, is it really is down to balance. Forget the old stresses of I've just bought it for like $20 and now it's $10 a day after this. It's out of your hands. You can't change it. What you need to focus on, if you're going to find that balance, is set yourself. Don't be afraid to set yourself a budget. Shop around.
Mm-hmm. Ask people what the value is for the money that you pay as well.
Exactly. And if you're looking to buy something new, don't be afraid to shop around online and have a look in store. It may take you slightly longer than a insta purchase, but still, if you're thinking, well, I've got $60, I want to buy a new game, you could still potentially save yourself money just by spending an extra half an hour of your day looking round.
Yep. Read those guides.
It's surprising.
Think about the guides. How long does it take to get to the platinum? If you buy something with the idea of like, well, I'll resell this in a couple of weeks, and then you look on the guide and it's a 400-hour platinum.
Factor those things in. Yeah, and I guess the key there is then research. Don't necessarily think that because and this is an important thing to point out. Don't think necessarily because everybody has gone out and bought exactly the same game on day one that you have to as well. I can't stress enough how many times I've known people pay over the odds just for things like peer pressure, and you think to yourself, if you hold on just that little bit extra time, do that research. Hell, if you're really not that fussed about it and it's going to be popular for some numbers of months, wait a little bit longer, but make that call on the day. But research is insanely important if you want to save money on that. Mm-hmm. And and you were saying about the renting side of things as well. I think that kind of comes into play depending on what sort of gamer you are. Because if you're a trophy hunter, let's be honest, unless you're an extremely well-paid job, it's kind of hard to be able to buy every new release.
Yeah,
it's
expensive.
I know, I've been there, done it, and it's caused problems. So it's extremely expensive. It's hard to do. It's hard to maintain. And then obviously you've got to factor in. You've got to find the time to actually play these games.
Yeah, you jump from game to game, and they don't get the play value out of you because you have so many games. Yeah. They're not as worth as much to you either because of the enjoyment factor going down. Because you spend a couple hours, you move to another game. A couple hours, move to another game. Yeah. Whereas if I buy one and I play it for 50 hours straight, even past getting the platinum, I'm getting a lot more value for my money in terms of gameplay, and so there's a lot here.
And renting can play a huge important part in that as well. If you are that kind of gamer that jumps from game to game, don't be afraid to use services like GameFly, and I think there's services here in the UK. We still have Blockbuster retail outlets, and there's other websites like Boomerang and stuff.
You guys have Redbox? You have any actual hands-on vending machine type things where you can go? And
sadly not, but I didn't want to focus too much on Redbox because obviously that's a physical one. The reason I sort of mentioned Gamefly and that lot is because what I was then going to say is that what you will also find with these game rental sites is that you can actually buy the games at a reduced cost. So, if you're unsure about making a purchase, you pay a one-off fee for a certain amount of discs a month. You can send them back if you don't want them and get a new game that's on your playlist, very much like, the old Netflix of old. And, if you do like that game enough to think, well, yeah, actually, I do want to spend the 40 hours with it, don't be afraid to then, buy at a reduced price.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be one extremely good way of saving money. And I don't just want to fire that off at people that do swap from game to game to game. I do want to, say to people, if you do have quite a keen interest in games and you think, I might not want to play that on, just based on trailers, nothing works better than showcasing a game when you actually are able to play a demo. And think of it like this, a rental service can act like a demoing service for you.
Yep, exactly. Try it out, see if you like it. If not, move on.
Precisely. So those are hopefully some of those ways people take on board. Some of it may be stating the obvious, but do take those into consideration when you're purchasing your games, because and it's kind of good that we're doing this now, especially with the shopping bit, because we're about to head into one of probably the most expensive seasons for gamers.
Yes, yeah.
It's like not only have we got the major releases and all the indie digital games, but we've also got consoles coming out, accessories coming out. Are you going to buy a game on one platform, on another, and which platform are you going to buy the game for? If
services, extra services available on those networks.
Yeah, and I mean, with a bit of research, you can really save some money. I mean, we covered it in the news team articles. There is going to be this scheme from Sony, and I think we've seen a similar thing with Microsoft, although neither company have been expressly clear on it. But I know when it comes to the PlayStation side of things, if you buy the PS3 version, you will be able to get the PS4 version at a heavily reduced discount. Now, I'm not sure if that's digital or not, but if you are looking at buying a PS4 going forward and you've got all your pre-orders and bundles, just bear that in mind, because one of my buddies seems to think that Call of Duty Ghost things will only be an extra £10 to get the PS4 version digitally.
Yeah.
So, if it's something like that, you could really benefit from that. So, research. And I will say also on the digital side of things, as you've mentioned before, there are a lot of benefits to buying games digitally. I will say this in terms of, I had a rant on this on the Rambling Gamers, so I'm not going to go into it in too depth, but just bear in mind, when you buy digital content, if you're paying more than the recommended retail price, please, for the love of God, stop buying it, because if you keep buying it, the publishers will continue to put the prices up. And none of us want that. So, do comparisons on recommended retail prices, but also take advantage of the sales. And, certainly if you have PlayStation Plus, do take advantage on the discounts, because you can save an absolute killer fortune. I think we were talking just before we started recording this podcast, and I was saying to you, wasn't I, about Dead Island Riptide. I still see that game for like £30 plus in shops now. It's on the PlayStation Network store as a PlayStation Plus discount for about £17.
Mm-hmm.
That's nearly half the price off.
Yeah, that's something to be said about the retail outlets. You got to be real careful about buying used. It used to be you'd get pretty good money for games, but now, I mean, they've got electricity, employees, storage, all that to pay for. So, that's why I recommend people look into things like eBay. And it's not like people think. You can get a title that's released and have it mailed and actually show up on the day it's released. It's not like you have to wait. It's not like, that's always going to happen. It's not like you're getting discs in the mail and they're all broken and, you get perfectly good games. You can save a lot of money. You can shop. If you don't find the price that you want there or bid and get a price that you want, then you go look other places. Consider that these are terrific ways to find used games, slightly used, that still work fantastic, that you can play and then even resell. Play it for a couple of days. If you don't like it, resell it. I go to the retail stores. They have a policy. If you don't like a used game that you bought, you can return it within a week. Any reason, you can return it within a week. We've had gaming nights where I went and I got a game. I played it for the gaming night. It's like, and I take it back.
Off you go.
It didn't cost me anything. I participated in a gaming night. I got to try the game. I didn't lose anything.
So
a little bit of time and gas driving to the retail store. So there's other ways to test this stuff and try it and see if you like it. GameFly, I think, gives you don't they give like free months out? It's the same with like Netflix.
Yeah, you can get like free trials and stuff. Yeah, so mate, take advantage of them. But I was just going to say, from my pro tip sort of point of view, if you want to take my specific advice, I'd say shop around. on the day. Don't think you have to get it on the day, even if it's 2 or 3 days later. Shop around. You know, I recently saw Saints Row go for 25 quid, brand new, launch day. Do that. As KD says, depending on whether you can be patient or not. You know, some websites even deliver games early.
Yeah, they accidentally come in the mail.
yeah. So, you know, do check those sites out and find out, you know, from forums and sites, you know, what sort of sites do offer or do tend to break the street date and things, you know, that can come in extremely handily. Do experiment with things like Gamefly if you can afford the extra cost for it. You know, shop around on the PlayStation Store. There's some great things to have. And even, you know, one of the biggest pro tips I can offer people is invest the £40 a year for PlayStation Plus, because you will always have new games on there, and it's totally worth it when you consider the PS4's releasing. Now, let's
not forget we have an Amazon store links on the site. Make use of those, and I want to point out something that's very important here that we're kind of almost skipping over. Yeah. Share this stuff. If you know about a freaking sale, share it on the damn site. And expect other people to do the same kind of things. When you start sharing that information, then, you know, this goes the same with coupons. You know, I know some great coupon locations. One is retailmenot.com. I highly recommend everyone check into that. It's got coupons for just about everything you could think of, and a lot of it is just simply going and finding a code, and you can save. You know, I routinely save 30% off a lot of things that I purchase over the internet. Yeah. Share those kind of things, and codes. You know, we talked about codes earlier.
I was
actually a code that you haven't used.
I was actually going to come on to this next, which was my other pro tip. Is, you know, do try and share these on social networks as well. And, you know, when it comes to games on release dates, publishers always love doing promo events in every way possible. And like any good promo event, they give away free stuff. And there's plenty of places that do that. You know, so if you see a game that's coming out by one of the publishers, you think Saints Row 4, for example. I know I've said that quite a few times, but it's the only one I can think of that's just released this week. But, you know, Saints Row 4. So go follow the developers on Twitter and Facebook, those pages like Volition, Deep Silver, the Saints Row 4 tweet, and you'll find they're probably going to give away free digital codes for the game.
Yep.
I'm not saying they are at the moment, but I'm just saying that the possibilities of you being entered into the competition and winning can be quite nice, and you will often come out with stuff for nothing.
And people
you know,
have
quite
even
often
said, "Hey, do you have any codes?" And they get tweeted back a code, don't they?
Yeah, I did that with.
Get any extra codes?
I did that with. I think I did that with Supermassive Games, and that's how I got a code for Doctor Who and the Infinity Clock.
Yeah.
I just said, have you got... They were doing a competition. They were basically just doing retweets for the US launch of the game. I, you know, tweeted at them and said, have you got any EU codes? They said, we're not intending to do an EU competition, but here's an EU code anyway. You know, and they will be nice about that. And I will say this as well. I mean, we even did it on our site Twitter feed recently. You know, we had a bit of banter with Q Games. The new Visualizer app is done by the guys that obviously do the Pixel Junk series and all that. There was just released in the US. They were kind enough to give us some codes, and we gave them away. And all you needed to do was follow us, follow Q Games, and retweet it. That was it. That's all that was required of you. 3 clicks of a button, and you
get the word out.
Well, not only are you getting the word out, but you win something. You get rewarded. And, you know, one of the things they said to me as well is that, you know, I said, thank you for doing that. And they said, well, you know, it's in our interest to do it. We want to get the word out about our games and things, our products. And it doesn't matter whether we're huge or small, you know, we have to start somewhere. And digital codes for things like that are great fun to do.
Yeah, plus they know if you're tweeting with them and exchanging ideas, they know you're a fan, and they know you're going to say the best things about them. And, you know, who better to share code with than someone that appreciates the work that you're doing?
Absolutely.
You know,
so I will just say this.
Random. It's somebody that's following and paying attention and listening.
So to repay their kindness, if you are listening into this podcast over the next few days, make sure you go follow Q Games. Their thing is at Pixel Junk News. The EU launch for the Visualizer app's coming up this week, so do follow their thing, because the chances are they'll probably have some codes to give away.
You sound like a news guy or something.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, I know it's a shameless plug there, but as I say, as well as I have, I've won quite a few things. I'd easily estimate the value of the stuff that I've won to well over a couple of £100.
Mm-hmm.
And that's huge.
Yeah, it is.
So, for the sake of a retweet, or because, especially with these competitions, I know people get put off things like Twitter because they're like, oh, but how do I get followers? How do I do this? How do I do that? That's not important when it comes to this particular thing.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? All you essentially need to do is click follow, retweet, and you can benefit. You don't need to worry about anything else. And it's the same with Facebook page competitions. Often with Facebook page competitions, it's just a case of you can either sign in with your Facebook ID and you're entered into the competition, or you put your name, date of birth, and email address, and that's it. It really is that simple. So don't be afraid to enter them do target game launch days for those, because they're the best time to get it, and share it as well. The more you share it, the more they're going to likely
retweet it to somebody else and all that. It seems almost counterproductive, but And then the other thing, this relates to trading. We didn't even talk about that. Don't forget
code trading.
Trading with something that code trading, or trade your games with people that if you have a neighbor that's playing PlayStation, or somebody you're going to college with, or whatever. Another great way to try a game out, Yeah,
well, we were saying about this, didn't we? About like beta codes, for example. When publishers doing like betas for
I get sent them still all the time. I don't know if it's because I used to be a beta tester for PC stuff, but I get sent crazy stuff. I don't know how they get in contact with me, because a lot of it, I get PC game stuff too. And up until lately, with having a PlayStation specific site, it's a lot of that stuff's kind of gone to waste. But there might be some use for that at some of the other sites and stuff, to say, hey, you guys want a PC beta code to play this game and that game, and
yeah, you'd be surprised at how many followers you'll soon attract with things like that as well. If you're looking to build your social network profile, because here's the thing with it. A lot of people think, oh, I've got a beta code, I'll just give it to a mate or whatever, all right? But not everybody's always going to know that you've got a beta code. So if you've got something that you think, I'm not just going to use it, say it, as you say, because we're not mind readers, can't read, I don't have access to company databases where I can find out who's got a beta code. So, if you've got something that isn't useful to you, share it, tell people, and give it away. Because you'll be surprised at how much, human kindness there is on social networks, even with all these things, reports and news reports on this, that, and the other, that, how many people are kind enough to just go, yep, I'm not using it, you can have it, buddy.
So I think we've covered quite a lot of information. I think the last thing that we should talk about is probably just stuff with the staff and offering help. I just want to cover that quickly. And, just to kind of round off here, we're just trying to, help you as a gamer, help you as a member, just improve everything, and just realize that, we're a community that relies on individual people, not only members, to put forth all the hard work that they do, but also staff. I want to point out right now that the staff is largely volunteer staff. They're not seeing any money, and most of them will not ever see any money. They're doing it for the sake of helping others. And so, we have to consider that, you should be a little bit thankful when they help you out. You should try to get involved in the things that you can help out with to make it easier on them and easier on everyone else. Like we said, sharing information is going to lead to other people sharing more information. It helps you in the long run. Not to mention just having that good, warm, fuzzy feeling about helping people. That's one of the things I like about guides. There's nothing better than writing a great guide than having people go, man, you'd save me, 20 hours on playing this game, and you made this incredibly easy for me, and you made it much more fun to get a platinum, and all those other great comments. And
see, I was going to say, when it comes to news, one of the things I love about actually writing news is when you put an article out there that's extremely well written about something that somebody doesn't know about, and the first thing they come on is like, I can't wait for this game to come out, it's awesome, because then it means you've got the message you were trying to get across through the article, and it means they've read it and they're excited about it, and then it's a case of it's great to be able to help people get that buzz for a game, and
you learn a little bit about what games certain people are playing, so when it does come out, then you say, hey, I know you're looking forward to this, let's play. There's a lot to it. And then, keep in mind that as a member, you're open to do these kind of things. You can submit news articles. You can submit reviews. You're welcome to write guides. Use that Get Guide code. And, if you're interested in something specific, let us know. It's the other thing about being a mind reader. If you get on the site, there's nothing wrong with you saying, hey, I'm interested in being on guide team. Or I'm interested in doing a better job with social media. Can I get some pointers or how I can help the site? I've had a lot of members lately ask me how they can get the word out. And that's great to ask me that. Share the kind of stuff that you know and that you learn, and don't be afraid to ask different staff positions how you can get involved in helping them. Or even if you want to take up your own thing, if it's something unique that hasn't been thought of, there's plenty of room for growth, because we have people that create threads about difficulty ratings, create threads about games that can no longer be achieved. The trophies can't be achieved. Those are the kind of things that just help everyone out as a whole, and that could lead to something, specific, where we could add something to the site and add all your content and help everyone,
Well, I was just going to say, just to give people an example of why you should, get in touch with people, even if it's just for advice on how you do things and stuff, I've often talked about this before, but just to reiterate the point, when I came to the site, I wasn't particularly active. I'd never been in forums, active in forums, because it just wasn't my cup of tea. And, as the months came over and people sort of convinced me to do more, I got more into it. And then I got some advice from people. I started doing my stories, my reviews and so on. And look at where I am now, and that's all come from advice, asking the right questions, being encouraged, trying to find out information about how certain things happen. Mm-hmm. And, I'd say exactly the same to other people. I mean, even if we do a recruitment process where we recruit for a specific role and you don't get that role, you should still continue to actively pursue it and get advice. One of the things we do, certainly with the news team recruitment, is we offer feedback even if someone doesn't get the role. So if their sample to us wasn't particularly great, we will go back and tell them what wasn't great about it and how they can improve. Mm-hmm. And so that's a better process than, certainly with a lot of places where you'd write something and people would just go, no, that's rubbish, straight out of the off. I mean, how's that helpful to anyone?
Mm-hmm. So you would want an honest opinion, wouldn't you? You'd want to know, so you can sharpen your game and figure out all the ways to make yourself better. Because, in the world of professional writing, no one's going to, if we were all just kind of giving you the mouthpiece, kind of saying, it's fantastic and it really sucks or something like that, you would just go out there and never improve and fall on your face, and it would be a harder road instead of learning and coming back and improving it. There's so many people that have interest and we don't know about them unless they tell us. Just from your personal story, it's like, how would I have known that you were interested in writing and wanting to go to school for that and want to be a professional writer, unless you kind of took the path that you did till we got to the point where we talked and I learned that you knew about social media and all that other stuff. It wouldn't have happened if you hadn't have been getting involved and had someone else pulling you and saying, hey, you need to get involved and you need to, post here and ask these questions. Yeah. So it's just another way of each person kind of taking it their own path and developing with it and letting us help you achieve that. Yeah. Find where you fit in. Find where you can, find things that you like to do or find people to game with. The other thing that hasn't really been developed yet on the site is clans. I really have run into very few people that are like, clan, my clan, rah, 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 rah. And I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because we're largely trophy hunters, and so we're not largely involved in clans because they can be very time consuming and all that. But I'm sure there might be a few people on the site that are very big into clans, and they're almost, they're not saying anything. They're not coming forward. They're not saying, hey, it would be good if we had some tools for clans. We can certainly do that, but we just don't know. We're not hearing from them. That part of it's almost kind of like left out because no one's stepping up. No one's saying that they have a strong interest in it. And until they do, then I don't have a strong interest in it. Yeah. I have to find things to help people that are wanting those additional benefits. And so I'm going to focus elsewhere until I hear otherwise. But you may know someone, or you yourself may be listening and go, you know what? Yeah, I want to start up a clan. Perfect opportunity to work with something that hasn't been developed yet. Develop all the things that you want with it, add-ons, a clan roster system, competitions between clans on the site, even award tiles and stuff like that, and clan banners. And it's like, it's all out there. It's waiting for someone to come up and say, you know what, let's make this our own thing and let's do this. And let's
The
stand out.
door's always open.
Yeah, and it's, that's what I'm going to try and get across to people is everything about this is intended to be developing our community in the ways that it wants to be developed. So you establish that first and foremost with communication, letting people know what your interests are, what kind of things you want to help with, be involved in, sharing information. If you shared a deal on, how to find a used game cheaper, don't you think I'm going to let you know about a game that you're playing that I found cheaper as soon as I see that? Don't you think I'm going to reciprocate and say, hey, you saved me $10 on that game. Look over here. This one's, here's a coupon. Or, hey, I got a code for this game.
I was going to say, I've lost count the amount of PSN messages I've had when, it comes back to what you're saying, sharing stuff. Because what you'll find is if someone manages to score something, if there's a glitch on the PlayStation Store, someone will test it, they'll get their buddy to test it out, and then it will just fly around the network.
Exactly.
So it's important to share that.
Yes. So hopefully today's information helped everyone out there. I think it's kind of a general everything for anyone using the site that's a gamer. And I look forward to getting some feedback on this and see if people enjoyed it.
Yeah, useful pro tips.
Pro tips from Dante Zero and Kryptonite Dragon.
Is that going to be the title?
I don't know. I don't think we're pros, and I don't know that these are really. I think we'll have to say that this is just how to be a better gamer member, those kind of things. I don't know. We'll have to come up with some kind of title along those lines.
And all round, how to be a better all rounder in the digital space.
Oh, there you go with your long titles. I'm just going to call it Dante Zero likes to make very long podcast titles.
You forgot that on YouTube and iTunes bit.
Yeah, there you go. But anyway, thank you for joining us today on this special edition of the PodStation by Trophies on PSN. And I'm Kryptonite Dragon.
I'm Dante Zero.
And we're signing out. Thank you for joining us. Have a great day.